YouTube, what is going on? This your boy Jordan JC back again on the Chicago Bears Breeze. And today we got a good one because as quiet as it's kept, Ryan Poles just took another L. What am I talking about? Well, according to reports now, according to actually Tom Pelissero, Justin Fields and George Pickens will be out or ruled out for Saturday's game versus Baltimore. Now, why is that important? Well, with that in mind, with Fields missing this week's game, it closes the book on the conditions for the fourth round pick for the Chicago Bears. He cannot play in at least 51% of the snaps for the Steelers this year. And so now the Bears, instead of getting a fourth round pick, their compensation for the Fields trade will be officially a sixth round pick. Why is this bad, and why am I saying this is another L on Ryan Poles' part? Well, if you remember an article back when the trade actually went down for Justin Fields to Pittsburgh, Josh Rock mentioned this in March 25th of this year. He mentioned how Ryan Poles felt in the decision to trade the quarterback. He said that it wasn't easy, and word for word, he said, Justin, probably one of the harder things I had to do. I always kind of touch on the empathy part. Having that conversation with my own son was hard. His jersey's up in his room. So it kind of puts things into perspective of how difficult those moves are. But I really felt like that was best for our organization and best for Justin. I said that at the combine. I wanted to do right by him, and we did that. Here's another reason why I find some problems with that, because I feel like that's kind of a conundrum. When you say that you wanted to do right by your organization, but you also wanted to do right by the player, you can't have both. And clearly now with this outcome, you didn't do right for your organization, especially with reports talking about that you actually had better offers on the table from other teams. Could you have possibly gotten a third round pick for Justin Fields? Could you have gotten an actual fourth round pick and it wasn't actually conditional, instead of going for the sixth round pick just because you knew that Justin Fields had a short list of teams that he wanted to go to? Sure, that's nice. There's nothing wrong with having a connection, an emotional attachment to your players. Having relationships with your players is part of the job. But the biggest part of your job, Ryan Poles, is to do your job as a GM for the Chicago Bears, not for the Pittsburgh Steelers, not for the Kansas City Chiefs, not for any other team. You represent the Bears. And so as soon as those players who used to play for the team are going out of those Hallis Hall doors, that means nothing anymore. It's time to better your team. And you lack that. You took an L on this because I'm pretty sure, and I said it before, I think they strategically did this. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers knew what they were doing. They knew that, oh, okay, well, let's just trot Justin Fields out there. They really had no reason to replace him. They were winning. I believe he had a 10 touchdown to 1 interception ratio at the time. But according to Mike Tomlin, it just didn't look different. It didn't look right. It didn't look efficient. It didn't look fluid. They weren't as explosive of an offense as they needed to be, as they looked under Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson hasn't been cooking the league, but he's looked like a better quarterback. And so now, because of that, Justin Fields now ruled out this Saturday. You're now not getting a fourth round pick. And so that's a direct result of Ryan Poles being way too emotional. Your job is not to do right by Justin. It's to get the best compensation. And you failed at that. Right along with the other L's that you've taken over the years. The L for the second round pick from to give to Pittsburgh, mind you, for Chase Claypool. Horrible L. Obviously, I wanted that pick at the time. I wanted that trade at the time. I assumed that Chase Claypool would be a very talented player. And of course, he looks and looks the part. And, you know, he had a few decent games. But it was between the ears that was the problem. It was the mentality. It was the attitude. It was the chemistry with the team. And so that was an L. Obviously, we know about Nate Davis and what he did here or what he didn't do here. The lack of things that Nate Davis did here after his first year. You gave him grace because of the passing of his mother. That is very unfortunate. That's not to say that there should be a time limit on how long you grieve. But if you're telling me that you want to play for this team and you're prepared to actually get on the field, then it's time to do your job, and he didn't do that. He never showed a lack of effort. He showed a lack of effort. He showed a lack of aggression, and that was a waste of $10 million. So that's an L. And then, of course, you drafted Velus Jones in the third round. That is a huge L. Many times you overlooked other players that you could have retained on this team because you wanted to keep this guy, because you kept thinking that this old prospect out of Tennessee was going to eventually hit with the new rules for the return game. Never happened. Fumbled the football, gave it to another team, just continued to display the same weak effort and just untimely plays against the team. And so, all in all, this question is, or rather, the question now is, when should Ryan Poles be on the hot seat? I said it before in the daily live show for the Windy City Breeze. I'm not necessarily putting him in the hot seat right now, and I stand by that because I think that it's important that this offseason he makes the right decisions. I'm giving him after this offseason to address all of the issues, or at least most of the most important issues for this team. Obviously, in the trenches, that's what I'm talking about the most. The offensive line, the edge rushing, and possibly some other positions as well that need help, perhaps even cornerback with the questionableness with Tariq Stevenson. I'm not really high on him anymore. But you have to address those major issues now with all of the picks. And the reason why this is damaging to you is because, say you get that fourth round pick from the compensation from Pittsburgh. We just got a fourth round punter last year. And I know Pat always clowns me about liking Torrey Taylor, but in actuality, there were names last year that were still on the board that we could have addressed line depth. We could have addressed protection. Cedric Van Pran from Georgia, really aggressive center prospect out of Georgia, could have been the answer at that point. He was still on the board. And so, had you gotten a fourth round pick for this year, that could have gone to another decent to high level player on the offensive line. And yet, that's now not going to be the case because you cared more about the emotional side of the game. And that's the problem is, does Ryan Poles have a blind spot or care more about the blind spot, or rather the empathy or the empathetic part of the game and his players versus the business side? This is one of the reasons why I think he's getting his hand held. Whether it's being kind of like behind closed doors and who's leading the search for the head coach and who's really going to be the one making the decisions during the draft and free agency with all of the cap money that we have coming into this offseason. We already saw that now they're saying Kevin Warren has the green light instead of Ryan Poles being the name at the head of all of these articles being the green light, getting the green light. It almost seems as if the president is now taking over as the guy that's going to be the final decision maker. And of course, Ryan Poles is going to have his say. He's going to have some input and some thought into what's going on. But is he going to be the main guy? Has his track record shown that he actually fails in the biggest moments when it comes to evaluating players, when it comes to knowing when to let go of players to better your team? And that's the problem that I have right now. This is another clear L on Ryan Poles' record. So again, this offseason is pivotal. I really think this offseason is pivotal for Ryan Poles to get back on track. We can sit here all day and talk about the fleecing of the Carolina Panthers. Those days are done and gone. I understand we still have a 2025 second round pick coming up this offseason, but those days are gone. You cannot sit on that and say, oh, I'm King Poles. Now, anything I do or anything I touch is still gold, no matter what decision I make. No, you have to continue to make good decisions. This team is spiraling because of some of the backwards decisions you've made and not addressing the most important positions, and also not setting this team up for better success. And so I want to get you guys' thoughts on that. This is definitely a damaging report because, again, like I said, it's another red flag on Ryan Poles' resume and record. The fact that now Justin Fields will not be playing in this game coming up, it takes away the chance of getting the fourth round pick. It takes away the chance at the Bears building and getting maybe more talented prospects in the building. And that's a direct result of Ryan Poles and his affinity for his players over the business side of football and actually being the GM for the Bears. And so how do you all feel about that, Bears fans? Do you all think that maybe Ryan Poles shouldn't get a chance this offseason? Do you feel like he should be fired? I know I see a lot of people in the comments lately saying that Ryan Poles should be fired. He shouldn't have another shot or have any say in this upcoming draft because he's already shown himself to be, a detriment to this team. I'm not there yet, but I want to see how you guys feel. Obviously, I'll be down there with you in the comment section as always. And as always, if you like this video, show some class, comment, like, subscribe, share this video with others. I'll see you guys on the next Bears Breeze.